I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
All right, so welcome to another episode of On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. We're doing things a little different. Today I'm your host. I'm Tyler Grayton, Marketing Manager at Weatherby. Typically we have Luke here as well, who's the main host, but we're doing things a little different. We're in Nebraska. We're doing kind of a remote podcast. I got a bunch of friends here. We're on a duck hunt, so I'll kind of let everyone introduce themselves here. Starting with Mario down there. Tell us who you are.
Why I got to be first?
Because we always like to just throw you under the bus.
What else is new? That's been going on all week. Mario Friendy, serial number 3645. I did a nickel and chino. It was a small crime, so don't. Vice President of Final Approach, duck hunter, goose hunter, clown extraordinaire. There you go. How's that? Is that good enough?
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That works.
Keeping it light.
All right. Kyle Killen, International Sales Manager for Weatherby, and was on this not long ago, so I don't think I need to sit there and list out the laundry list there like
Right.
Mario.
Right, and nobody cares.
I know. No one does.
And then to my left, we have a cool special guest, kind of the point of this podcast I'm
Yes.
excited about.
Well, I'll try to be cool. Paul Waite, Senior Manager of Communications for Delta Waterfowl. And I'm a duck guy.
You're a duck guy.
I'm a duck guy.
I like that.
That's right. And I like to write about it. So that's my gig. And been in communications for a long time. I've been at Delta since 2011. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's climb the ladder, Bubba. You've worked it pretty hard.
Well, it's a passion, man. Just yeah. I mean, that's
why
I'm
we're all sitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so we had Paul out. So Kyle, kind of tell us what are we doing here? Where are we at? Give us a
So
rundown.
we are at Whiskey Slough in Kearney, Nebraska. Met Paul at Delta because I was hanging out with Mario, which usually leads to poor decisions, but you know.
A 100% chance of poor decisions. Like, yes.
But every now and then things work out good. So we got Paul, and we're out here filming The Last Pass, making another episode of that.
Yeah.
So, and just kind of getting some content for the upcoming year. And, I mean, we only get 3 months to really get what we need.
Yeah,
so.
you kind of had to just go hard for those 3 months there. I mean, we already kind of talked about our schedule, but the next couple months is going to be busy.
Very,
Yeah.
very busy. So, we'll, how much are you home next month?
Not very much, like a week.
Yeah.
I'll be in Sheridan for about a week next month, and then I'll be traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's
I
been
hear
good.
that.
So
Well, and you guys gotta do content for, big game. You gotta do deer, elk. You gotta do everything that sheep. You gotta do everything that, on the big game side. Thank God I don't have to do that. I mean, no disrespect, but oh man, I can't. I don't have time. I don't.
it's a couple of different mindsets there for sure. You got a bunch of different product launches too.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a two different mindsets when you're talking, the shotgun line versus the rifle lineup.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, you got to be focused on both. Like I'm there, so I stay in my lane.
I'm like you, Mario. Just focused on ducks and geese.
Yes, stay in the lane.
Every once in a while, we stray into things like sandhill cranes or
yeah.
something like that.
Or snows, right?
Yeah, pretty much
right.
has to have wings for us to pay it much attention.
And crows.
And crows. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty safe that we all get pretty excited about ducks and geese, and that's kind of what interests me is from the Delta standpoint. Kind of tell us about one thing that's been kind of catching my ear this last year is the Million Duck campaign.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to just jump into that real quick, kind of give it from your perspective and kind of see where it goes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. Yeah, the Million Duck campaign is a huge initiative for Delta Waterfowl, and we've been building up to it for the last couple of years. So it was exciting to announce it at our expo in July in Little Rock, Arkansas. Basically, what the Million Duck campaign is our goal is to produce 1 million ducks, additional ducks, and have those ducks migrate, of course. And, a lot of them will end up flying in front of hunters. And, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So our mission at Delta Waterfowl is to produce ducks and ensure the future of waterfowl hunting. And so the Million Duck campaign plays right into it. The major component of the Million Duck campaign, obviously, is to produce ducks. And we do that by some of our programs, our duck production programs, which include predator management and hen houses, which are nesting structures. And we've been doing hen houses and predator management since the 1990s. So we've refined these programs, and we feel like, we know we can make a lot of ducks by implementing these programs on a much broader scale. And of course, that takes money. So the Million Duck campaign is a $250 million fundraising campaign, which will create an endowment fund to fund that duck production activity every year in perpetuity. So it's not just a short one-time thing where we're going to make 1 million ducks and then see what happens. We're going to be able to continue to make 1 million ducks for duck hunters throughout North America, which is really a cool thing. And, it's kind of that North Star. We haven't necessarily had a defined goal like that. And it's a bold and ambitious goal. Yeah. And but it's really fun to be part of on the communication side, for sure. So
when you guys started this, how long did it take? Like the build-up. Give me the build-up or the backstory leading up to the campaign.
Yeah. So, like I said before, we've been studying predator management and implementing predator management, but since 1994, and our hen house program really started in 1990. And so we've had these programs for a long time. So now this is just a big ramp up, right? So what we recognized is that, we do a lot of habitat work as a conservation organization for waterfowl. But what we've recognized is, we've got to take the habitat that's out there and really maximize it. Like there's a lot of habitat that's been conserved that's just not producing ducks. And so the Million Duck campaign is a way for us to take that habitat where the ducks are naturally growing or going, and really turn it into a duck factory. Yeah. Let's produce some ducks because, we don't get excited about properties. We get excited about ducks in the air
and numbers.
Yeah, and so that's really what it is. We're taking this and we're gonna maximize duck production everywhere we can.
Well, and you talk about that, right? You talk about like a property, but then you talk about maybe it's not producing. Well, maybe it is producing, but maybe the nests are getting, raided. And that's the predator management side.
Right.
So, listen, that's my favorite thing. I'm not, the places that I have, access to and what I can work on, we're not holding ducks. We go totally dry in the summer, right? They go back to the refuge systems and everything. So the properties that I maintain and work on and do all that, it doesn't matter. But the predator management side, I'm on. You know what I mean? I am 100% in on that. Anywhere I can go, because that makes a huge difference. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and predation is the is the number one thing that happens to a duck nest. I'm not a waterfowl biologist. I want to make that clear, but I work with a whole bunch of them at Delta Waterfowl who are among the brightest minds in waterfowl management, and so I hear from them, and obviously I know all of them well. But yeah, predation is a huge problem. And part of it is because the habitat that we have in the prairie pothole region is, intensely farmed, and it's become fragmented. And if you've got just a small patch of grass over there next to a wetland, well, that's where the ducks are going to go. That's also where the predators are going to go.
That's where everything's going to go.
Yeah, that's right. And so you compress everything, and a duck has to spend a lot of time on a nest to hatch those eggs. And
right.
So, it's tough for those ducks to pull off a hatch in some of these places. And so what predator management and hen houses too do is kind of level the playing field. They give those ducks a chance to hatch a nest because it kind of puts the predator-prey balance back in check a little bit, and so that's why it's effective.
Yeah.
We want to, again, like I said, maximize duck production on the habitat that we have conserved, and other organizations have conserved as well.
So going through that predator management, what is like the how can you maximize predator management? Like, is there incentives, or like, are you encouraging people to get out more and go back to doing more trapping and things?
That is a part of it, but as a small part. So we actually we control predators on the landscape in the spring. Our control trappers are out there in March, and they manage the predators on landscape through July, and it's blocks of cover, and those blocks are selected. We pick areas where there's high densities of ducks, where the ducks want to go, where they want to nest, but there's not enough cover. There, it's an area where those raccoons and skunks are probably going to find most of those nests. Right. So in that way, we're able to, like I said, kind of balance the predator-prey thing out a bit and give those ducks a chance to hatch a nest there. So we have contract trappers that we work with to do that work. And it's really effective. And now we're going to scale that up. And it's pretty amazing to me. The first time I ever saw a predator management project, it was a field in North Dakota, and it was only a couple 100-acre field. And Delta was doing predator management work there. And I remember the number. There was 486 duck nests on a 200-acre, and like 50-some, I don't remember exactly, but 50-some% of them, more than half of those nests hatched. You think about that for a minute. 200 acres, there was, 250 duck nests that hatched. That's a lot of ducks.
Yeah.
A couple 100 acres.
Right.
And in some other areas, nearby control areas where we're not trapping, but we're just checking nest success, nest success is 5 or 10%. So you're only hatching, a handful of nests on those same,
right.
So that's the dramatic difference that predator management does make.
Everybody's got to do their part, if they can.
Yeah. So it's exciting. It's a great thing to be part of, and it's been received well by the public because all of us are duck hunters, and we, even though we saw it, I know we were snow goose hunting today, but we saw 20, 30,000 snow geese. We would have liked to have seen 50 or 100,000 snow geese, right?
Right.
So yeah.
So explain explain like what a hen house is to someone who might not know what that is. And then we were talking in the blind yesterday just about hen house numbers, and kind of walk me through that and the goal and the plans on that.
Yeah, so as part of the Million Duck campaign, we want to have 110,000 hen houses on the landscape. So what a hen house is, and maybe you've seen them on the prairie, because we have about 10,000 program hen houses out. They're a nesting cylinder, and we put them over water. They're on a pole over water. And again, the goal there is to keep that duck, that nesting hen, out of the way of predators. So if you put that pole with that nest structure out in the water, away from the bank, not out in the middle, but away from the bank on a small slough, and they're used primarily by mallards, where that hen mallard wants to be anyway. The raccoons don't get to that. They can't get up that pole. They don't. So you mostly eliminate predation by raccoons and skunks and some other predators, nest predators. What we've found is use rates by hen mallards can be 70-80%, and then a nest success in a hen house in some areas, some of the studies we've done, is between 60 and 80% as well. And then if you compare that to the mallard in that same wetland nesting over there in the grass, their nest success in some cases is like 5%. So you've given that duck that's in that nest tube a heck of a boost.
Yeah, that's crazy percentage change.
Yeah, it's really dramatic, and so the other thing too is a lot of ducks, so the hen hatches the nest right in the grass, 500 yards from a wetland. Now those ducklings got to get from that nest bowl, and they're peeping, making noise, all the way to the wetland where they're safer, right? Whereas, okay, they're in a tube right over the water. When they leave the nest, boom, they can be in the cover in like seconds, right? So it eliminates some of the predation on the actual duckling too. It can. So it gives them a chance as well, and the hens are safer as well in that nest tube. Another thing that our biologists often emphasize is that a lot of hens die during the nesting season. So at the hands of predators, right? And so anything that protects that hen is also a good thing for duck production. So
how are you guys measuring that hen success rate? Is this biologist on the ground, or how do you guys conduct some of those surveys?
Right. So a couple different ways. Kind of the tried and true method is to search for nests in the grass, you drag a chain between two ATVs, and then when the bird flushes, and I've been on the prairie, with the researchers when they're doing this, you kind of step lightly because you don't want to step on the nest. You're like, okay, I know there's a nest somewhere right in this little area. Right. So then you actually have to visually find the nest. That's been the standard way to find nests, duck nests. Now, however, we've been working with drones since 2016 or 17, I think 17. And we've been using thermal imaging cameras to find duck nests. And so it's less invasive, and we can find more nests or as many nests that way. It's a lot less, if you have one drone pilot versus 12 people out dragging chains around, and once you know where that nest is, you can fly your drone back there and observe it that way. And so we're also doing some in coming up in 2023, we're going to initiate some research with drones to determine nest success that way using drones. So it's kind of exciting. So
That's like,
and I
that's
get
like
to write
duck-
about that too.
That's like duck surveys of the future, and it's now.
It is, yeah. It's kind of cutting edge to be running around with drones. It's I'm sure that research scientists 25 years ago, it would have really thought it to be futuristic. But you're right, it's now. So, yeah.
On some of these hen programs, so that stems from Canada all the way down to the prairie pothole of the United States, or how does that work too?
Yeah, so we're focused on the prairie pothole region. It's people who know about waterfowl management. We often call the prairie pothole region the duck factory because, obviously conditions vary from year to year, but 50 to 70% of the ducks in North America are hatched in this prairie pothole region, which is the Dakotas, eastern Montana, a little bit of Minnesota, and some of Iowa. Then it extends up into Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. So that's the core. That is the prairie pothole region. So that's primarily where we do our duck production work. We do have hen houses in some other places outside of the prairie pothole region. And we have been we have some studies, some research in some other places. We've tried some hen house research out east in the Atlantic Flyway. I believe we're going to launch a hen house pilot program, or not a program, it's more research than anything else in California too this year. So it's a small pilot project, but anywhere we can make ducks,
You're going to be there.
that's what we're trying to do. Yeah, we're all up. We call ourselves the Duck Hunters Organization, and it's about producing ducks.
And is that a mix of public, private, people who are just duck enthusiasts that will allow you guys to do programs like that, or?
Yeah, so we're a membership organization, so and we also have a chapter system. So I don't know the current number of chapters, but it's somewhere around 400, I believe. We also have a fair number of private donors who are like all of us, passionate waterfowlers, care about conservation. So those folks help fund things as well.
What do you need, Mean?
No, I'm just seeing if you guys got any questions. I feel like I'm talking a lot.
I'll
so.
jump in a second. Go.
I'm just getting memorized. I'm just sitting here like listening to this, and I'm like, that's a lot of projects and a lot of I'm still going back to the mortality rate of nests and looking at how much difference it makes just by doing that hen hut. Yeah. I mean, that's just to me impressive, and it's like why have more people not been doing that on?
Yeah, it really is. The results are there. I think there's been a lot of focus in waterfowl management and conservation circles on habitat, and rightly so. We work on habitat projects too. We've got people working on the 2023 Farm Bill. We're working on all kinds of initiatives to conserve these wetlands because it starts there. Without wetlands, there's not going to be waterfowl. So not to diminish that at all in any way. Like I said, this is a complementary. The Million Duck Campaign is a complementary strategy to get the most out of that habitat, right? So that's what we're trying to do. It's not a replacement, but your question is right. There's been a lot of focus on habitat, so much so that it's almost excluded some of the other things. And so what we're doing now is saying, hey, yeah, we know habitat is the thing, but there's other things. What can we do with this habitat? We've got it, let's make it make the most amount of, let's get the most out of it.
Yeah, increase the quality of the habitat overall.
Right. Increase the duck production.
Right, the numbers.
Yeah, increase the duck production possibility on that habitat.
California is a great place for you guys to step in and do stuff because they do have great hatches, and then they have huge success in the whole state. Like, they grow, you wouldn't think they would grow a lot of ducks, but they have a lot of local grown ducks there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a Midwestern guy, but I did get to go out there last December and hunt in just north of Sacramento, and then I got to go back in July. And unfortunately, I was there to do a story about the horrible drought.
Oh, it's bad.
But I did spend enough time there to get some understanding of the situation there, and it's really unique. It's not like the prairie pothole region at all, but you're right in that. And again, I'm not a biologist, but in talking to our biologists that work for Delta, there are possibilities there to help, the waterfowl hunters of the Pacific Flyway in California boost their duck production.
Yeah, huge opportunities there, I think. Yeah. Definitely. There's a lot of local stuff there that can be done to help. And there is when you think of California, maybe you don't think of a lot of habitat, but I can tell you with the amount of clubs and refuge systems and private and public, there is a lot of habitat down there. A lot.
Yeah, and the rice agriculture there in the Sacramento Valley, which I toured a lot of it in July. Unfortunately, a lot of it was unplanted and bone dry, but I can definitely see that there's...
Yeah, you can see the amount that's there.
It's impressive.
It is. It's incredible. Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity for you guys. And I think the predator side, I think all of it, but I think what folks have to understand in waterfowl hunters is whatever you can do to help is helpful. Like, don't think like, oh, well, I can't really make much of a difference. Like, you really can. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you trap on your property or you do whatever, like, that helps,
Yeah. And getting involved in conservation, however you do it, is a good thing. We obviously encourage you to become a member of Delta and other conservation organizations that you believe in, and gone are the days when somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
Or
somebody else is going to pay for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to get in and whatever. Like, this is where your money's going. Like, it's very clear where it's going.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't donate to something and then I don't know where it's going or how much is going. You know what I mean? You guys are very transparent on where it goes.
Right. Yeah, we try to be that. We definitely we're pretty much, we've been a no frills organization. We're putting money into programs, the Million Duck Campaign too are other pillars. We have 4 pillars. Research and education is a pillar. So we're continuing to do cutting edge waterfowl research, and that's part of who we are as an organization. It's really how we began as a research organization and what we're known for. And then we call it Hunter 3, but it's R3, which is hunter recruitment, retention, and reactivation. We have some amazing programs that we've been working on. The University Hunting Program, which is really an interesting thing, and I could talk for a long time about that too. But it's pretty cool. Basically, we take university students who are studying wildlife management but don't have a hunting background. We put them through a course essentially and teach them hunting. We hope they want to become a hunter, but the main goal there, in addition to recruiting them as a hunter, is so that they understand what it is that we do and why we like this stuff and how important it is for conservation. So that program is pretty amazing. We've got 72 universities this year in North America that are implementing Delta's university hunting program, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
There's 494, I think, universities that have some type of wildlife management program, and we've got 72 of them.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's growing.
Yeah, and that should grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
So that's
now,
exciting.
The thing that you said about that is California has a program where anybody that goes to work at any of their refuge systems, right, has to go through that almost that same kind of program. They have to go away for the weekend, whether they hunt or not, or they're going to hunt. They get a hunting license, they get their duck stamp, they go to a lodge and they go through safety, and they go through gun safety, and then they go through duck identification and all this stuff. Then they go hunting, then they clean them, then they eat them. You got to do it all.
Yep.
Or you can't get placed in a refuge system to work.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's amazing too. The reason that there's a need for this program, Dr. Frank Rohrer, Delta's president, chief scientist, will tell you this. 25 years ago, the wildlife management students, people who studied it in college, well, they came from hunting families. They had that background in it.
Right.
Now, it's not that way.
Right.
It's less than half of those people who are studying wildlife management who are going to be making the decisions about regulations for waterfowl hunting and waterfowl management. They don't have that hunting background. So unless there's programs like what you're talking about, and like our university hunting program, to teach those folks, hey, this is what this is, they don't have that. It's essential.
Getting started as a waterfowl hunter could be pretty intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
It's equipment heavy. It's knowledge heavy.
Well, where do you go? What do you do?
Yeah.
It's very intimidating, and it's like, and listen, waterfowlers aren't the first person to tell you like where all the birds are. I mean, listen, that's just, and everybody laughs about it, but that's the truth. You know what I mean? Like nobody's like just, hey, I get a call from somebody. It's like, yeah, bro, I'll tell you where my favorite spot is. Like, here you go. Like, that's not how it goes. No. So it's a little tough. On the universities, are they listed somewhere?
Yeah, I mean,
like probably on the website, or
yeah,
what?
I think we have that information on the website.
Because I mean, if you're like a student, like doing that, like that would be so cool to go and get in that, man.
Yeah, we work with we have a host professor at each of those universities, and then they obviously know who their students are in their programs, and that's cool. That's cool. They recruit them that way. So
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a really cool pillar.
Yeah.
So where is like the current population of ducks? So like I kind of want to get into that fluctuation, and then also kind of the benchmarks or reports that me as a hunter that I want to go see what Delta reports to see how this is performing.
Right. So duck populations are interesting. So the last in 2020 and 2021, they did not do the breeding population surveys because of COVID concerns, right? They did do the survey again this year in 2022. They do it every May. It's the most extensive wildlife survey in the world, okay? So, and they always come out with a number, right? It's a number of ducks, and but what people need to understand about this is, okay, that's the breeding population. That's where we started. That's the starting number, right?
Right.
Okay. So the key thing is really duck production, right? So where are we going to end up? How many ducks are we going to have in September, October when they start migrating, right?
Right.
So yes, the breeding population number is an important number because that's where you started. But you really have to look at conditions and what kind of year you had on the prairie.
Right.
Like, for example, last year we probably had more ducks to start. The breeding population was higher than it was this spring but the conditions were drought on the prairie.
Right.
And so we didn't make many new ducks. So the flight was much poorer last year. Fortunately, a lot of the prairie this spring and over winter had some really good snows. Manitoba and the Dakotas really got a lot of water late in the winter and into spring, which created really good habitat for ducks. So even though we started with a lower number this year, duck production was really pretty good in a lot of areas. And so you've got to look at it that way. So we do something every year called our fall flight forecast. And we look at, okay, where did we start? How are the conditions? What should that translate to? So we're looking at, and we also have biologists who are out there doing hen house programs and predator management. So we know, I'm not saying we know everything, but we have a good measure. We have a good gauge of, okay, how is this going to be? So this year shakes out pretty good, even though the, when the breeding population numbers came out in August from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, duck numbers were down 12%. Everybody went, oh my God, it's going to be terrible.
Right.
And we're going, wait, hold on. No, it's actually going to be okay, people. It's going to be all right. So you always have to look at that. What are the conditions? And we publish now a monthly conditions map. Mike Buxton, who's one of our senior waterfowl program managers, he actually does a lot of work with the predator management program for Delta. He's put together this conditions map, and it's pretty cool. So every month you can look at, where your ducks come from and go, oh, well, yeah, it's blue and that's good. It's excellent. The breeding conditions are good. So you can kind of use some of those tools that we have developed, and they're not just random. They're scientifically, not me, but those guys are waterfowl biologists. This is what they do every day, and they're looking at this stuff. So,
well, and everybody is so like watching the numbers and stuff, you know what I mean, and just like waiting for the magazine or waiting for the online stuff, and I want to see the numbers, and I want to see this, the other thing, and then if say it's a slow year or something, and the guys are like, well, where were all the ducks at? You got to understand too, the migration and the weather, and everything plays a huge part in what they're going to do when they're going to move through your area. You know what I mean? So numbers could be way up, but the weather could be just whack, and we're just like not getting it, and they're just stalled. So like, listen, it happens.
Yeah. And the other thing too, as a hunter, if you can't hunt on those 4 or 5 days of the year when the migration was on,
you missed it.
You might you're in that you might have had a bad season, not because the ducks weren't there, not because you didn't get the weather, but because of your own circumstances.
There's a lot of factors.
There sure are.
When did you go? How'd you shoot?
Yeah.
Did you sleep in?
There's lots of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a lot that goes into that. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Yep. I look for it, and I guess what I look at is as long as the numbers are up, then I know we're in good shape, right? So, we got a good chance they're going to move. You know what I mean? They're going to move through our area, and I got a good shot. So I'm just going to get my days in, and I'm going to hunt my weather days especially, and I'm going to watch everything, and every tool I got, I'm using. You know what I mean? Every app and, you can get your hands on, I'm on it, checking the weather by the minute. Constantly. It's dumb, but that's it. So, yeah.
Is there anything coming that we should be on the lookout as consumers of Delta?
Check our website, deltawaterfowl.org. We're constantly writing about our programs and our science, and I don't think there's any more huge announcements on the immediate horizon. Obviously, the Million Duck campaign is a huge undertaking, so we're still working toward that goal. And but we are doing some exciting things. There's some really neat research coming up, and we're ramping up. Trying to produce as many ducks as we can, and we're working on habitat initiatives, the Farm Bill, and other things. So.
And I think dinners and auctions and stuff, I think that's kind of kicked back in and I don't want to say back to normal, but maybe on the way back to normal.
It really has, in the United States a little bit more so than Canada, but we've been adding chapters and regional directors to start new chapters in some more regions. Our chapters are growing exponentially, and I think that it's because of what we're doing. It's exciting. We're really out there trying to make more ducks, and make sure that the habitat's there, and teach people about duck hunting.
And the duck hunters, we're like I said, we're kind of like, I don't want to say selfish, but you're not trying to give up your spots and stuff like that. But the thing about it is, like, the way we're going on hunter numbers in general, we got to get more people into it and we always talk about, get the kids into it, and that's all well and good, but I tell everybody, get anybody into it.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Like, I've taken some guys that were, in their 50s or 60s first time they went, and they're like, this is so much fun. And it's like, you know what I mean? Get them in, because we are like, we're almost like timing out like this generation of older hunters that was a huge part of the waterfowl percentage of hunters, and they're timing out. They don't go anymore. Maybe they don't have somebody younger now that can take them. Like, take the older guys.
Yeah.
Like, take everybody.
So our chief conservation officer, Joel Bryce, he's kind of not singularly, but he's kind of led the charge on this shift in philosophy in terms of hunter recruitment. In what he says is, we need to take people who can repeat the experience. So that's a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old who has a vehicle, has some money, has a job, can get a shotgun, can get some decoys, can get to a place to hunt, right? So those are the kinds of folks that, we're trying to target more and more to through some of our programs. We have First Hunt program, which is I think we're nearing, if not over 100,000 participants in the life of that program. Cool. Yeah. And, so we've kind of shifted the emphasis. Not that we don't want the 12-year-old to learn hunting, because we do.
You're just expanding it, though.
Right. Yeah. So, but if you take a 12-year-old who has no connectivity to a hunter.
Yeah. But you better take their dad or mom, you know what I mean? Or grandpa, or somebody else has to go, because hopefully, like you said, that they can then take them and repeat the experience.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. You don't just like... Because we have a pretty good youth program in Oregon, and there's a whole refuge system set up where it's youth only. It hunts once a week when they start it, and the cool thing they did is you could ask, like, say you don't know anything about duck hunting, but you draw. You could ask for a caller, like a volunteer caller, a volunteer to run the dog, like whatever you wanted. Like, you could just ask. And I'll tell you what, my buddy James and I have done a ton of those, and there's nothing like it, and the parents have to go. There has to be an adult to bring that, and then they get into it, and then here we go. Like you said, that's the whole ticket.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's plenty of adults out there who just didn't have the opportunity, like you and I and Tyler and Paul did growing up, where our parents were already into it.
Right.
So we, of course, got taken.
Sure.
So getting those people to have that opportunity to decide definitely helps, because then, as they grow older and have kids of their own, they're now in our shoes.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you got to keep it going. No doubt about it.
And then just getting involved, like becoming a member, but then also going to your local chapter, reaching out. They need plenty of help, I'm sure.
Oh, buddy.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Volunteers, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of our chapters are very engaged in that hunter recruitment portion of being part of Delta Waterfowl through First Hunt. That's a volunteer driven program for Delta. The other thing, we've got chapters who put out hen houses and do wood duck box projects and other things that support conservation efforts. And the other thing that we haven't really talked about at all is our volunteers and our members are kind of the eyes and ears for Delta Waterfowl. One of the things we do as the Duck Hunters organization, we have something called Defending the Hunt. And basically what Defending the Hunt is if a municipality decides, they're going to close down hunting over here on this lake, well, more often than not, we get a call from a volunteer or a member to Delta, and we will fight that. We fight for duck hunters.
Right.
Anytime, anywhere is what we say, and it's true. Like we will fight for because access is so important. We can't lose the access we have to hunt, right? So that's something really cool that we do, and our membership. And our chapters are so important in that way, and they're really engaged too at the local and state and provincial levels in all manner of things, conservation, waterfowl conservation. So it's about more than just showing up for the banquet.
Right.
But hey, if we'd rather have you just show up for the banquet, if that's your contribution, that's awesome. We'll take it, right? If you can't make the banquet and you just want to support a membership, we'll take it. Absolutely. Everything helps. You're doing your part.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
yeah. Was there anything on the Million Duck campaign that we didn't cover?
I think we covered it off
I think we
really
got
well.
that pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah, send them all my way.
Kyle, you got anything else?
No, I'm just wondering how I can cut, that flight line off from Mario. So thinking about that already.
Come on, bro.
See,
I'm not greedy. Just send some. I'll just take my little percentage, just like everybody else. I just want my piece.
Just your piece.
Yeah. Small?
Yeah.
No.
$500,000. That's all.
All right. Well, to kind of close this out, become a member. Delta Waterfowl support. Check out FA. Check out Weatherby. Thanks for tuning in.